And there are two significant stories that are developing out of Washington tonight. Now, a short time ago, President Barack Obama's jobs bill was defeated by the U.S. Senate. Now, the measure, totaling almost $450 billion, would have authorized another round of infrastructure spending and more tax hikes on the so-called wealthy. Now, meanwhile, in other news out of Washington today, an Iranian-backed plot to assassinate the Saudi ambassador to the U.S. has been foiled. Now, according to Attorney General Eric Holder, one Iranian-American was taken into custody on September the 29th. However, another co-conspirator remains at large, possibly in Iran. Now, factions of the Iranian government are believed to have approved the operation that was slated to take place right here on U.S. soil. Joining me now with reaction to both of these developing stories is Arizona Senator John McCain. Senator, welcome back.
Thank you, Sean.
All right, let's start with what happened to the president's jobs bill? What happened to his own party? He's lashing out at Eric Cantor in the House. Republicans, what happened in the Senate? They run the Senate.
Well, in the Senate today and yesterday, Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader, asked for a vote on the president's jobs bill, something that as you might recall, he's been arguing and shouting for all over the country. And Harry Reid decided in his wisdom that we would not have a vote, up or down vote, on the president's jobs bill, only a bill that Harry Reid may devise sometime in the future. So the next time you hear the president say, pass it now, say, well, maybe we ought to ask Harry Reid.
Yeah, pass it now, pass it now. But it seems the Democrats want to put together some face-saving measure for the president. So it's still going to be a variation of raising taxes, and they're talking about a surtax on the wealthy in the country, which I don't think is good for job creation. And on top of it, the president still wants to spend money. What happened to the nearly $1 trillion that we gave the president?
Well, as you know, when I read some of the liberal pundits and economists, it wasn't big enough. I thought that's what you and I believe. But the fact is that it's more of the same. And by the way, Rand Paul and Rob Portman and I, with the blessing of the leadership, are working on a jobs bill that it can be truly a jobs bill that would be deregulatory, would cut taxes, would encourage that money to come home and be spent in the United States, and a lot of other provisions that would restrain the EPA and regulations. So we're working on an alternative. We hope to have it out soon. But look, the president's, quote, jobs bill is just more of the same, and that's all.
I've been advocating the McCAIN plan. Rand Paul, by the way, is one of the senators. Marco Rubio supporting this. Very simple. We can balance the budget in 8 years, and that is freeze spending at this year's levels, cut 1% a year every year for 6 years, and then keep spending within 18% of GDP for the last 2. Is that something you think you could sign on to?
Oh, I think it's a good idea. But right now, as you know, we have to have a deregulatory environment so that businesses will be eager to invest and hire. As you know, the chairman of, I think it was Coca-Cola, that said that it's easier to do business in China. We have to cut taxes. We have to take some immediate steps in order to get this economy going again, and that's going to have to be cutting taxes, cutting spending, and cutting regulations, or moratorium on regulations, amongst other things, in order to get businesses to invest and hire in the short term.
All right, you ran against Barack Obama. All right, he wins, he becomes the president. By every measure, every metric out there, he's failing. The American people are leaving him in droves. And I'm watching the president, and I'm thinking, why does he not have, and maybe you have more insight than anybody else, why does he not have the ability to change course? Because I don't see it.
I don't know. We saw that Bill Clinton did that, as you know, to great effect. In fact, he was reelected. I noticed that Joe the plumber announced he's going to run for Congress, and you might remember that when President Obama, then candidate Obama, said, we have to spread the wealth around. You remember that?
Yep.
That's sort of been the philosophy and the policies reflected by the president's view in this administration. Yeah. And it hasn't worked, whether it be giving $500 million to a solar panel company that's going to fail, or whether it be costing roughly $200,000 to $300,000 per job created by investing over $1 trillion and then wanting to do more of it.
Yeah, well, and Bernanke said that the recovery is faltering. Joe Biden actually went out there and said, I don't blame people for being mad, we're in charge. And the president acknowledged last week, we're not any better off than we were 4 years ago. What kind of re-election campaign is that?
Let me just point out one thing I've talked to you about before on this program. It was the housing crisis that started this recession, and until we stabilize the housing prices and the housing situation in America, we had a proposal during the campaign to buy people's mortgages, give it back to them at payments they could afford so they could stay in their homes. And we still have not addressed the housing crisis in America, and they certainly haven't in my state, where half the homes are still underwater. In other words, they're worth less than their mortgage payments.
Well, the government forced the financial institutions and the banks to make the loans for people. You know, you can't lower the standards. Standards were there for a reason, because you got to have the ability to pay it back. And I agree that was the foundation of this. All right, so we've got now pretty much the field for the Republican nomination set. You have not endorsed anybody. Is there one or two or three people that you're looking at that you think would be the right person to defeat Barack Obama?
Listen, I'm happy with the field that we have, and I feel that we're going to have some very good candidates. I was sorry that Governor Christie, who you just had on, didn't run, because I think he'd have been a fine candidate. I think that Rudy would have been a fine candidate, but I'm confident in our selection, and I'm not ready to endorse anybody yet.
Last question. Do you think Eric Holder, you said you were on the verge of deciding whether or not a special prosecutor should be appointed to look into his inconsistent statements as it relates to the Fast and Furious controversy? Do you think the Attorney General has been, well, let's say, less than forthcoming?
I think that if Mr. Holder has to be subpoenaed and appear before Congress, then I'd like to see what he has to say before I make that judgment. But I hope that he will appear before Congress and explain his actions and what has happened in this terrible tragedy. Could I just mention on the Iranian thing real quick? I know we're out of time. We need to impose more sanctions. We need to stop their central bank from doing business with anybody. But we also, is it possible, Sean, that the Iranians may think that we are weak and in decline? Do you think they would have tried this with Ronald Reagan?
No.
So what they've done is pretty bizarre. It's pretty bizarre, but it shows a certain arrogance on the part of the Iranians that can only be bred by a lack of concern about what the United States might do.
Well said. Senator, good to see you. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Sean.